Hello, everybody. Let's talk about freedom of speech and what it is and how it's being attacked today. And I'll make this as short and to the point as possible. Let's break it down. What is freedom of speech? Freedom of speech means that, in simple terms, the simplest terms I know how to put it would be for us, me and you, to have the ability to voice and speak and share, verbalize, write it down, whatever. But we can share, we're free to share our feelings, our personal views, opinions, or the facts without being hurt, harmed, killed, threatened, arrested, having our accounts banned and suspended and all that removed, without being treated differently or the fear of having any of those things. We shouldn't be even concerned about that. Should never even be an issue. We should be able to share our feelings, opinions, views, or the facts without suffering any kind of repercussions. That's why it's called freedom of speech. We don't have to agree on everything. We don't have to agree with each other. It should be okay to, we should agree to disagree, so to speak, right? That's freedom of speech. And America's always been known to be able to have that here. It's one of our many freedoms. The right, it's our First Amendment right, the freedom of speech, right? Well, now how is that being attacked today? How is it that we're not having that? It's being attacked more and more all the time. It's getting taken away from us right before our eyes, right? You say, well, how's that? Okay, if you don't think our freedom of speech is being attacked, I'll give you some examples. You get on Facebook, you get on YouTube, you get on Instagram, get on social media. I would say TikTok, but now it's been banned unless Trump saves it. They say he's going to bring it back. We'll see. But you get on there and you talk about certain things, certain topics, certain issues, whether it be the 2020 election, it could be vaccine mandates, it could be any number of things. And you talk about certain things, and what do? Well, we had to remove your post because you violated certain community standards and guidelines. Your post is removed, your account suspended. You're told that if you keep doing that, it will even possibly be, banned altogether. Certain rights, freedoms are taken away, saying you'll no longer be able to do this and that, whatever. What is that freedom of speech? No, that's the opposite. That means it wasn't free. That means now, when you get on there and tell your feeling, whether it's your personal feelings, opinion, views, or the facts, now when you get on there, if you mention certain things, now it's no longer free because now you're having to pay a price for it. Now your post is going to be removed. Your voice, in other words, is not wanted, is not welcome. Your opinions, views, and feelings is not. If it don't say certain things, it's no longer welcomed or allowed. Well, that's not freedom of speech, folks. That's more like that of communism, like a communist nation, like a dictatorship. More than a people's like republic and so forth. So that's the total opposite of freedom. Because the way it works now is, the way that social media works and the government works is that if you don't get on there, if you and me don't get on there and say we agree with them, the way that this is how it really is. This is reality. If we don't agree with and completely agree with whatever narrative that they're selling, whatever they're saying, it can be something that you and I know is a complete lie of what they're saying. They're flat out lying on a certain person, lying to us about a person or about a certain thing. It can be about vaccines, it can be mandates, it can be an election, whatever it is, but they're lying to us, right? So then let's say we disagree with it. Well, that's not allowed. It's no longer allowed anymore. Because not without repercussions, or you can't, or if it is, you can think, and feel differently about something, but you can't voice it no more. Because now, when you voice it, what happens? You're blackballed. You're vilified, demonized. You're called a conspiracy theorist. You're called a racist. You're banned. Your account's banned. You're problematic. You're whatever. We don't want to hear what you got to say because you're not believing and thinking like we want you to. So, and the government's all about power and control. Always remember that. They want to be in complete power. They want complete control over us. They want us to be completely dependent on them and for everything. So like, for example, take the TikTok ban, for example. The TikTok ban recently, that was to eliminate easy and direct communication that the American people had, or actually people had over the whole world. That was an easy way of communicating with one another. That was an attack on our freedom of speech in itself. Because now we were able to freely speak and share our personal views, opinions, and feelings, share the facts. We had access to facts, including a lot of stuff they didn't want us to know, so they got rid of it. That in itself was an attack on our freedom of speech. When you get on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, whatever, and you get on there and say something that does not go along with what they want what they want you to say, or if it's something they don't want people to know, what do? They suspend your account. They tell you violated community standards. They remove the post. That is not freedom of speech. Because freedom of speech, like I said, means that me and you do not have to agree on the same thing. But it means I can share my views, you share yours. We can still be friends, but we agree to disagree. But when they come along and start doing the stuff they've been doing for years now, and TikTok, like I said, shows how it's progressively getting worse. When they get on here, when they get on there and they say, hey, if you don't feel the same way we do, you're not allowed to share anything on there. Your views are not wanted or welcome. They're not allowed because you don't agree with us. Is that freedom of speech? No. In other words, what they're saying is you have to think like we think, feel like we feel, believe what we believe and what we tell you to believe. Believe that a lie is the truth if we tell you to do that. In other words, basically, if we say jump, you ask how high. That's the way they are now. And that's more of a communist nation. That's more of a dictatorship. That is not freedom of speech. Because that is everything but freedom of speech. When I can't be myself on there, when you and me can't get on there and say how we feel about something without getting removed or banned, then that's not freedom of speech, folks. It's no longer free because now it's costing you. Freedom of speech means just that. It means it ain't going to cost me anything by me sharing my views and opinions. And it means it's freedom of speech and it's free to disagree if I want to disagree with something. Free to share whatever information I want to share. But you can't do that. So again, the whole TikTok thing recently is a perfect indicator of how our freedom of speech, not just on an individual that posted something, but us as a nation, and really, all Americans. Because, that didn't just affect one person, that affected the entire country, in fact, the whole world, really, because look at the people in America that we were all sharing our views, opinions, feelings, and facts with one another. We was able to be ourselves. It actually unified people. We were able to have total and free access to each other, sharing whatever we wanted to share, getting to know each other. It unified people. It brought them close together. Well, they don't want that. They want division. They don't want unity. Because there's strength in numbers, and say if the day comes that our government ever decided to do anything to us that's unfounded and catastrophic and just pure evil, TikTok would have enabled people to say, if it started with one person or a few people, they could get on there and say, hey, I'm in such and such, I'm in Florida right now, I'm so and so, and this is what's happening. Everybody embrace yourself. They're coming for you. Now you can't do that, see? Not like you could not at the level that you could, on TikTok. Yeah, you still got YouTube and Facebook and all that, but it didn't reach the masses like TikTok did, and on the scale that it did at such a fast pace. It reached such an audience faster than those other platforms do. So now see, let's go to political stuff, for example. Now see, whereas before you could get on TikTok and people would be supporting their favorite candidate on there, and so many people would see their video or their TikTok live. Can't do that now. They eliminated that. What better way to silence people and to attack their freedom of speech than to get rid of the means by which they do it, the means by which they, their form of communication. It was a way of getting rid of, eliminating that direct communication that the American people had with each other. We had the ability to communicate with each other here in America as well as communicate with people overseas, whether it be family, friends, strangers, whoever. They attacked our freedom of speech by disabling us. We're no longer, we were enabled. Now we're just the opposite, disabled. We're not able to no longer use that means of contact. It was so effective. Really, truth be known, that probably played a big role in why Trump won the election and Biden and Harris and all them lost, because things like social media, like TikTok, played a big role in that. So, of course, it doesn't surprise me that on Biden's watch, his last day in office, TikTok is banned. Imagine that. But a lot of people will be in complete denial of what's going on. They're, not seeing how our freedom of speech is being attacked. And see, the truth, we could tell the truth on TikTok, again, whether it's your opinions or whether it's truthful facts. You can get on there and share whatever. Now you're limited. You have to go back and watch the news. You're limited to what they want to tell you, what they choose to tell you, what they want you to know. Whereas with TikTok, people get on there and say, hey, I know the news is telling you this, but now let me tell you what's really going on. So, but our freedom of speech is being attacked all the time, more and more. It's more and more, evident because there's certain things now you can't say, that you're not allowed to talk about. And if you do, like I said, you're vilified, demonized, you're banned, you're an outcast, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're a racist. I mean, if you don't agree with whatever they're selling at the time, if you ain't agreeing with it, then you're a threat. You're a threat to them because you're telling the truth. And the government don't want you to know the truth. Always remember that. The government wants you living in the dark. They want you to believe whatever lies they sell at the time. Whatever lies they're telling, they want you to believe it. And if you're one of those people that knows they're lying and you share it, what do? You violated community standards and guidelines. Your post is removed. If it's free, it shouldn't be removed, right? Again, we're supposed to be the land of the free, not of a communist nation, a dictatorship where they control what you have access to, control what you hear. They limit what you have access to and can hear. They control what you believe. They want to control your minds, if truth be known. It's all about deception, manipulation, corruption, power and control. They want to control your mind. The old saying is, you control the mind, you control the body. If they can control what you think, what you believe, how you feel, and tell you how to think, and that the way they look at it is you're going to believe and think what we tell you to. And if you oppose, then you will be dealt with. That's the way they think. That is not that's not the way it's supposed to be in the land of the free. That is not freedom of speech. That is the complete, total opposite. If it's free, why are you being censored? Why are you being silenced? Why are you not allowed to share your views, opinions, and the facts? Why are you not allowed to have a voice? Why is your voice not welcomed and not heard? Why are you punished for sharing your feelings, views, opinions, and all that and the facts? Why is it only this side's allowed to speak, but you're not? Does that sound like freedom to you? That is not. That's not freedom at all. So our freedom of speech is being attacked all the time. It's important to see that, to know that, realize what's going on, know what freedom of speech really is. And the more you look at it and just look around, you listen to what people are saying, trying to say, watch how certain people are listened to, others are totally ignored or shut down, shut out. It ain't no coincidence. It's because the government does not want the people to know the truth. They want you to be in the dark about all things and not to have access to that truth. They don't want you to know. They want you to know what they want you to know. And a lot of times, whatever it is they want you to know is a lie. So now if we have to, whereas before you could get information off TikTok, a lot of your news and facts, even find out stuff that the news left out or didn't say. Now you got to go back to resort to the news, right? Got to watch the fake news. So now you're limited to whatever they want you to know, limited on whatever they say. Whereas before you can get on TikTok and get access to information on just about anything. And find some video where somebody, whether it's health stuff, where a doctor is telling you natural ways to combat diabetes, high blood pressure, or anything else. Well, what did that do? That hurt the pharmaceutical companies. That hurt the doctor's pocket. Because if you know a way to get rid of something, to be totally healed of something, or a natural way of dealing with it, instead of having to take medicines with side effects and all that, that hurt the pharmaceutical companies. That hurt the doctors. They don't want you to know that stuff. And again, if you know how to do it yourself, you're not dependent on the government. You're not dependent on the doctors, on pharmaceutical companies. And there's so much more to this than meets the eye. They want to make it sound like it's because of a potential security threat, but it ain't that. Did they seem concerned about all them drones flying around that they never have given us an explanation of to this day yet? You heard about it for a few months, and all of a sudden you don't hear about it no more? They never told us anything about that. They weren't concerned about that. Were they concerned about millions of people coming over illegally? Were they concerned about that? There's so many, I could go on and on. There's so many things that they're not concerned about. But yet they want to make a TikTok out to be a threat. And that makes no sense, to make something like that out to be a threat. So when you make a threat out of that, that's, compared to the other, that's something wrong with that picture. And people were making a living. A lot of people, not me, but a lot of people were making a living on TikTok. They were dependent on it financially. So what was the government saying by doing this? Not only was it an attack on freedom of speech and the access to information they didn't want us to have, not only was it a way to silence people. Silencing a person, again, remember, is the opposite of freedom of speech. I'm silencing you because I don't like what you're saying. That's not freedom of speech. But anyway, by them doing this, by Congress getting rid of TikTok, it was their way. It was the government's way of saying, we, the government, don't care what you, the Americans, think, what you like or don't like, what you want, what you need. We don't hear your voices. We don't care what you have to say. Your voices mean nothing to us. This was a spit in America's face. They don't value our opinions, views, feelings. They don't care. If they did, they wouldn't have done that. Now, what about the millions? One thing report said 7 million. I think it's probably a lot more than that. But look at all the millions of people that were dependent on TikTok for an income, that made their living off that, selling products, legit products, making a living. Whether they're making a living and just getting by, or whether they're making a killing, that's beside the point. It was their way of making money, and it was legal. It was safe. It wasn't out selling drugs. It wasn't out, robbing banks. It may not have been working a regular 9 to 5 job, or the typical job, as we know, as most people would consider it. But what most people consider a normal job. But they were doing something that was safe. It was legal. It was legit. And all of a sudden, you said, "I'm shutting you down." So there is nothing good that came from, or that could come from, the banning of TikTok. Let's hope that Trump reinstalls it, or gets it back online and everything like he claims. I mean, I've heard, that he's going to. We'll see. But again, there's a whole lot more to this than meets the eye. Don't just think don't buy this lie that it's a safety thing and they think we're being spied on and all that. They didn't have a problem with the drones, the balloon that was going across the country a few years ago that was said to be from China that never got shot down, the people coming here illegally, that does that. I mean, by the millions. They don't have a problem with that. How are you going to have a problem with TikTok, but not all that other stuff? I mean, think about that, really. No matter what side of the aisle you're on politically, or, because I didn't even get on here to talk about politics, but I'm just saying, no matter where you're at politically, or whether you're a Christian or not, regardless of your race, your gender, just think about it. Leave all that aside and think about, what I'm saying. Look at the big picture. How do you look at TikTok as a threat? What possible reason could you have, legit reason could you have to get rid of something that was really honestly harmless and actually brought people together and allowed us to have that freedom of speech that our Constitution says we have the access to? That was a direct attack on the freedom of speech of all Americans. Plain and simple. That's a fact.